But first, back to Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International Editor. Just a quick word first, because it fits into what I want to talk to you about next. It's worth mentioning it because I'm going to do it every week. 4.5 months after those two Muslim brothers were filmed at Manchester Airport pummeling 3 coppers in a rain of frenzied punches, the delays in bringing these charges or dropping the case are now officially ridiculous, aren't they? There can be no reason for this, apart from the fact the Crown Prosecution Service and the authorities are nervous because the suspects, the defendants, seen here beating the hell out of police officers, are Muslims. It can be the only reason. This is now getting kind of comical, these delays. Either they're going to pursue this case, I would suggest that they should, or they're going to drop it. They owe the public some kind of statement, and we're not getting one. They've had this file, Isabel, since August the 15th. That's when Manchester Police handed the criminal file over to the CPS. Here we are. What is it? December the 10th. Nothing. It's getting absurd. It's getting insulting.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, frankly, it was ridiculous months ago. I don't think that it should have taken more than a week, if that, to come up with a decision on this. You know, the video evidence is there for all to see, and yet seasons are passing. You know, we've gone from summer to autumn, winter. You know, no doubt we'll do the full calendar before anyone is bold enough to actually take a decision on this. They've just got to face down any criticism they get on the basis of skin colour or religion. It's completely and utterly cowardly not to press these charges. And like you, I'm bewildered as to what the problem is. There's a clear lack of strong leadership here. And here's hoping that the private prosecution actually gets properly underway. I mean, I think they're at the stage at the moment of requesting all the files from the CPS. You can imagine how long that's going to take, as every excuse in the book is used not to actually pony up the evidence. But I think when you bring a private prosecution, you have an entitlement to access those files. So that's what's happening at the moment, as I understand.
Yeah, and you would have thought, that's why I thought we'd have a quick word about this, because you would have thought, I think it was now, well, it was a couple of months ago when Reform UK first announced the idea of a private prosecution of these two brothers. But about a couple of weeks ago, they said, right, well, we've heard nothing. We're definitely going to do it. And you would have thought that in the ensuing 2 weeks, perhaps, just maybe, the Crown Prosecution Service elected to do something at long last. But no, nothing seems to inspire them into action here.
I really hope that they might be embarrassed into it. You know, they might effectively be bounced into it on the basis that it was humiliating to the authorities to see the public effectively having to take the action themselves. But this is a shameless public authority, isn't it? You know, just like the overall government is shameless, this is just a reflection of where we're at with the way the country is run.
Yeah, it's a disgraceful example of two-tier policing that insults the intelligence of the people. We all know what's going on, and yet the CPS continues with this sort of sulky teenage silence about it. And they're not looking into a complex case. It's all on film. They are not proceeding. I say it time and time again. CPS, Manchester Police, by all means call me, tell me I'm wrong, but I say you are not proceeding with this case because you're scared, because the two suspects are Muslims. Two-tier policing. Simple as that. Call me and tell me if I'm wrong. I say that every time, Isabel. I never hear from anyone. Extraordinary, that, isn't it? Now, this feeds into the other story that I wanted to talk to you about today, because I think it kind of does all meld together as a bigger picture. The more the public, in fact, British citizens, get fed up with this nonsense, with these main two parties, their inactivity on the migrant crisis, their failure to confront legal migration, illegal migration, their failure to do anything about this kind of disgusting two-tier policing, which we also saw in the summer. The more we see this, the more people are saying we are sick to death of the big two-party system, and that means they are gravitating more and more towards Reform UK. We've seen big defections. A couple of weeks ago, Andrea Jenkins. Last week, you and I agreed, really important defection by Tim Montgomery, the heart and soul of the Tory movement for 33 years. Not an MP, but the founder of Conservative Home, a kind of spiritual guru for conservatism. He's joined Reform UK, which is pretty sensational. He said, look, the Tories have let the nation down. They've deceived the nation about immigration. I couldn't go along with it any further. Today or yesterday, and more developments today, again, extraordinarily, big Tory supporter, big Tory donor, old friend of mine actually, billionaire property dealer, tycoon Nick Candy, defected from the Tories yesterday. Today, you tweeted it, handed Reform UK a 7-figure donation. And a certain Elon Musk saw your tweet, saw what was going on, and he tweeted, interesting. Now, if Elon can get round it, there's word in the air that he might be prepared to give £100 million to Reform UK. What I'm saying is there's a massive direction of travel triggered by huge disaffection with Labour and particularly the Tories, the complacent Tories. More and more people are going towards reform, and Reform UK, which they haven't had before, to be fair, with money and organisation, I think are going to be one hell of a force to reckon with, and the Tories should stop acting superior and start counting their chickens, because they haven't got long to go, if you ask me.
So what is so surprising about this is the stage in the political cycle, the electoral cycle in which it's all happened. I mean, we've just got a new government. You know, people have just had a chance to vote reform. And in fact, several million of them did. And it only, because of our system, only resulted in a handful of MPs, which is a big achievement with no money whatsoever. Now, this new government has been so breathtakingly bad that it is hemorrhaging support from those who voted for it only a few months ago. People have rightly not forgiven the Conservatives for the devastation that they left. And I don't think they will forgive the Conservatives anytime soon. So what does that leave? It leaves the Lib Dems, it leaves the SNP maybe, and it leaves Reform, which really does look the most exciting prospect at the moment. The question for Reform is, can it maintain this momentum? You know, it's tremendously exciting for those who've campaigned for the party for a long time, pretty thanklessly and generally being dismissed and written off. But in a sense, I hope it hasn't happened too soon for the party. I don't think it has. I think this is just the beginning. And, you know, it was only a few months ago that the Reform Party was struggling to pay the wages of the handful of staff it had. You wouldn't believe the number of messages that are now coming in of people who now want to be part of it. They see something exciting. They see a potential success story, a potential revolution, and they want to get on board.
Yeah, I tell you, something is happening. Something, you can feel it in the air, and the Tories are being all complacent. Oh, you know, it splits the vote. You've got to vote the Tories. Forget it. Forget it. The Tories, if they don't realise they're in big trouble, they're in even worse trouble than we thought they were. Isabel, fantastic to talk to you.